This day in Manang was exciting. It was going to be an acclimatization day. We got to sleep in a little. The plan was to relax except for a day hike up to Praken Gomba. I woke up with tingling hands. Tingling extremities is one of the most common side effects of taking Diamox. In the last video I mentioned I started taking the medicine to try to avoid getting altitude sickness. Speaking of high elevation, it is recommended to stay away from caffeine and alcohol before Tholong La, the highest point on the trek. But since I was just relaxing in Manang all day, I figured I could risk a cup of coffee with breakfast. As for breakfast, I was already craving normalcy, so before meeting Raj, Jose, and Luis, I wandered to one of the German bakeries in the village. I grabbed a chocolate croissant. The lady that ran the shop had a giant wheel of yak cheese cut open next to the register. I was amused when she started counting out my change on top of the wheel. I wish I'd grabbed some video walking the streets of Manang. It was adorable, kind of a mixture of Nepali village and an alpine town in Europe. Maybe I'll grab some clips from other channels. After enjoying my coffee and pastry at the dining hall with the guys, we headed out to the Gomba, or resting place. The resting place was a little monastery built into the cave high above Manang. Raj tells us en route that the Praken Gomba has a nickname, 100 Lamas. It's called that because you are expected to donate 100 rupees to receive a blessing from the Gomba monk. The hike to the Gomba was only a mile, but you start at the village at about 11,500 feet and go up to 13,000 feet. When we got up well above the village where there was a pretty good view, Jose had had enough of the climb and headed back. The higher we got, the sunnier it got. 1,000 feet up, there was a tea house where we took a break. It only had 500 feet more to climb up, but it was even steeper. The view of the cave was worth the effort. When we arrived, a group came out of the inner temple, so it was our turn. Raj and the monk spoke briefly, and then Raj, Louise, and I sat in the back of the little room. And then one at a time, we kneeled in front of the monk. We put 100 rupees in her bowl. Then she said a few words and tied a colorful string around our neck. And just like that, our Nepal trek was blessed. I wore my little string until I got back to America, just to be sure. I should have asked before taking the picture inside the temple. Luis was better. When he asked, the monk said it was okay, but then quickly covered the bowl of money before he could hit the camera shutter button. We stayed at the Gomba a good long time, soaking in the sights. From left to right, these are the mountain peaks. Annapurna 2, Annapurna 4, Annapurna 3, Gangapurna, Kansarkang, and Tilicho Peak. Manang sits just below a moraine lake called Danu Gangapurna. The lake is fed by Milarepa Glacier meltwater. The glacier is on the slopes of Gangapurna. On the walk down, I stopped to spot our hotel below. We stopped at a stupa just above the town. It had its own little Hollywood-like sign. The view of the town was great. You could make out all the businesses along the main drag. The informational sign at the stupa were helpful for identifying the mountain peaks. Manang is basically at the end of the road. That is, to go any further into the Himalayas, you have to hike. So it is a popular place to end a motorcycle tour. We got back to our hotel by lunch when I had Dalbat again. I spent most of the rest of the day in the dining hall because the power in my room wasn't working. The hotel had a laundry service that I took advantage of. I sat in the dining hall, charging my devices, entertaining myself with my phone, all the while staring at the slopes of Gangapurna. Luis and Jose went for a short hike in the afternoon to try to get to a glacier viewing point. At the tea spot the day before, Raj talked me out of getting yak meat. He figured I should wait until after Tholong La. He didn't want us to jeopardize our trek. Dinner menu had spaghetti bolognese on it. I figured it would come from a can, so it would be safe. Well, it was homemade and it was delicious. The meat in the bolognese was yak. The meat was flavorful but tough. The yak cheese on top really brought the dish together.